So this head cold is no fun. I spent most of yesterday just sleeping, taking medicine and sleeping. I heard there was a flamingo pool here. There's a water park that we had access to, although it was cold. I just spent the day hydrating. I ate some dinner and sleeping so I could get through today's work day. I am so grateful that after this trip, I have 2 days off, so that will give me more time to recover. This year is still plugged and it's driving me a little bit crazy, but there's nothing I could do about it right now. I brewed a cup of coffee. And I'm going to get ready now. I woke up at 4:30 a.m. It's now 4:59. And it's time to get ready. I felt like I had a cough there. Maybe not. All right, let's go on today's adventure. Before I forget to show you, I wanted to show you a couple of cute details in the room. So the little artwork has its own private lights. I figured out how to turn on these lamps over here. They are mermaids. Look at that. I just love these. And this mirror. I do love the mirror. And the bathtub. I was even too ill to take a bath. I just had a shower this morning, but I'll use the bathtub next time. I know I'll get this layover again. I made a second cup of coffee, and I'm hoping that that will help pick me up and just to get through the workday. I'm feeling better already. They have a Keurig machine. I think this is like a little espresso. But green tea, English breakfast. Yeah, so I'm just gonna finish getting ready here, pack up my bags, but I have a few moments to just sit down and enjoy this coffee and finish watching the news. But I'll just do a real quick, because this is a really cute room. I'll show you the room again. The bathroom is my favorite part. Excuse the mess, I'm just gonna say ahead of time. I kind of sat in one bed and watched some TV and then slept in the other bed, but excuse the mess. I showed you the mermaid lights in the mirrors. These doors are really pretty, so we have double doors here that go into the bathroom. I just love this pattern on them. Separate shower and tub, toilet room, Balmain Paris body products, and here's the bathtub. So the bath opens up to the room, but if you wanted privacy, you have these sliding doors here. Where do you pull it? Oh, right here, they start. And then you could just close them and give yourself privacy. And then there's the two beds. And then out there is a view of the ocean and Nassau, and you could see Atlantis from here. If you look at my last video, you could see it a little bit better, because right now it's still dark outside. It is 5:30 a.m. The beach is somewhere out here. So I'm all packed up and ready to go, even though it's a little bit earlier than usual, only because, let's see, it's 6:06, I have to be down there at 6:30. And that's only because this hotel is really huge. There's an east tower and a west tower. We're in the east tower, and it took quite a long time to get here. So that I'm not late and I don't panic if I get lost, I'm going to allow myself plenty of time. Today I'm flying 3 legs. I'm flying from Nassau to Miami, Miami to Puerto Plata, Dominican Republic, then Dominican Republic back to Miami. So 3 legs today. My medicine is kicked in. I'm feeling better. This ear is still plugged, but I can make it through the day. I'll finish my work day around 4:30, and then my commuter flight to fly home is booked for 5:30. So hopefully I get on that flight and I can get home at a reasonable time and just continue to take care of myself. That way I heal in the next 2 days and then I can go back out and work. Don't want to call out, because when you call out, you get a point, like a negative point. And after so many points, then you get written up into like a level 1, a level 2, and then like a final warning. So I don't want to call out. So I'm going to take care of myself and make myself better, hopefully, fingers crossed. But it's time to get on with my day and to get my little butt downstairs. Safety checks are done. Passengers are going to be boarding in just a couple of minutes. I'm in Puerto Plata. We dropped off the passengers in Miami. Now we're picking up the passengers in Puerto Plata, taking them back to Miami. And then I am done. I'll get my third leg completed on my day 3 of this 3-day trip. I got a seat to commute on, so I'm now heading back home. My trip is all done. Okay, so I made it back from the Bahamas. Day 3 of my trip, I commuted back home, but I got feeling terribly ill, and I think it was just like maybe a viral, like an upper respiratory viral sort of thing. Because yesterday I was on my day off, and then today is a day off, and so finally today I feel better where I can record my debrief. But yeah, so on this trip on day 3, I was just still feeling sick. So I took more medicine and I spent most of that layover in Nassau just sleeping. I thought I may get some energy and then I'd be able to go out and have a look around, but that never happened. I just kept nodding on and off of sleep. So when we started that trip, as you know, this past week, the Snowmageddon has been, wreaking havoc. So one of the passengers, well, let me back up a little bit, which has led to many crews being stuck in different places, flights getting canceled, and that's just all due to the weather. One of the flight attendants that I was flying with, she said that her friend, their layover turned into like a 72-hour layover. I think they were in Kansas City, turned into a 72-hour layover due to the weather. And I don't know if it was because they lost the airplane they were supposed to be using, like maybe it got held up somewhere, or I don't know, it could be a lot of different things. But the Snowmageddon was impacting not only flights and crews, but passengers' trips also. One of the passengers said that he slept in the airport in Washington D.C. because he said if he was afraid he was going to get snowed in at home, and he really wanted to go on this trip, and it would cost him days on his trip, and then it wouldn't be worth going. So he slept in the airport. That passenger, he was going to be flying from Miami to Puerto Plata, Dominican Republic. So I did work 3 legs on the last day, which is tough. On the last day of a trip, I prefer to just fly 1 leg and then just fly home. 1 leg and done. But this day was 3 legs. Our report time downstairs was 6:30 a.m. So I woke up at 4:30 a.m. And I did that pretty much with ease because I had been sleeping the night before. I was just not feeling the best. So we flew from Nassau, Bahamas to Miami, and then we flew from Miami to Puerto Plata, Dominican Republic, then Puerto Plata back to Miami, and then my day was done. So 3 legs. Miami International Airport made it on the news because they broke a record. It was on Saturday, this past Saturday, they broke a record for having over 200,000 passengers pass through that airport. Yeah, so that was a record-breaking day for them. I'm a little bit disappointed because I didn't know that we, at this layover hotel, that we have water park access. So had I been feeling better, had I packed a swimsuit, had the weather been warmer, I totally would have gone to that water park and taken advantage. I think all 3 of us flight attendants would have done that. They had a big water slide, that one of those, it just looks like it kind of goes straight down. And I could see Atlantis. I could see the Atlantis resort from our hotel that was a little bit down the way, and I could see big cruise ships parked out there. So Nassau is a vacation spot probably for families too, because they have these water parks. And then the night before, there was a DJ outside. Like, there was some big event going out, tons of people. The DJ was so loud. I was just feeling so crappy that I just, for the most part, slept through it, except when I would like wake up a little bit in between to like have water or take medicine. But around 10 o'clock, the DJ was done. They had shut it down. So that was good. The hotel was big, as you saw driving in the last video. These 2 huge towers, and had a casino, lots of upscale luxury stores. Yeah, you could easily get lost in there. That's why I woke up at 4:30 and I allowed myself ample time to not get lost and to meet up with the rest of my crew. When I showed up, the only other people from our crew that were there was the captain, and he was telling me that he walked the whole resort. They got in a little bit earlier than us, but he got 16,000 steps in at that resort, and he did see the flamingo pool and the turtle pond. I think they're kind of connected. So in that little like lagoon area, there were a ton of flamingos and then a turtle in the other part. He said that he played a little bit of money in the casino, but he didn't win. Oh, just in case you don't know, because when I first started flying, I didn't know. It's always like 2 pilots in there. I didn't know who sat where, who was what. I didn't know which one was the captain and which one was the first officer. So you can always tell by their jacket and all the uniforms. Whatever airline, they always have stripes when it comes to the pilots. So the pilots, if they have 4 stripes on the arm, then they are the captain. If they have 3 stripes, then they are the first officer. And flight attendants, we have 2 stripes. So just a little FYI, a little more aviation knowledge. Boarding was very easy from Nassau to Miami. That's what I love about the baby bus. It's 120 passengers, and it just feels like having a few less passengers just makes boarding and deplaning that much faster. So I have been liking it seems like all month I've been on the baby bus, and my next trip is going to be the baby bus as well. We had enough bin space, luckily, maybe because bathing suits are much smaller to pack, so people brought less luggage. I don't know. That's just my guess. Oh, and then I also put here a little aviation knowledge. So when we brief the overwing exits, one of the things included in the briefing is that you have to leave the window shades open for taxi, takeoff, and landing. And I was just wondering if you knew why. The reason why we ask you to leave those window shades open is in the event something goes wrong with the engine. Say there were flames in the engine or smoke or something during taxi, so on our way out and climbing. During taxi, takeoff, or landing, then you would be our first eyes, because as flight attendants, we are doing stuff in the cabin to secure the cabin and get going. You may see something that you'll bring to our attention that seems abnormal, and so that's part of the reason why we ask you to keep those window shades open during taxi, takeoff, and landing. If something goes wrong or something looks like it shouldn't be the way it is, you're our first eyes, and then we report that. You would report it to us, and then we would pass that along to the flight deck. So just a little bit more aviation for your information. From Nassau to Miami, it was 44-minute flight time, and it was 183 miles traveled. It was a smooth landing into Miami. It was very nice, no complaints. Sometimes we have those hard landings where you kind of like feels like you bounce and then you like fishtail. This one didn't have that. It was good, smooth landing into Miami. We arrived early, about 15 minutes early, only to find out, and this happens, that our gate was still occupied. As I mentioned earlier, that airport's very busy, so we arrived early, but we sat on the tarmac for 15 minutes until our gate could become unoccupied, until that airplane pushed back and it was time for us to move in. We were supposed to keep the same plane all day, which we were very excited because I thought our ground time in between flights was not a lot from Miami and then going to Puerto Plata. So I thought I'm just going to stay on the airplane and maybe close my eyes and have a little like quick power nap, but that wasn't the case. At the last minute, I don't know why, but they switched our airplane. They put us on a different Airbus 319. So the captain is also a commuter, I found out during our conversation. So not only did I want to get back on time so I can catch my commuter flight, he wanted to get back on time to catch his commuter flight because he commutes from Dallas to Miami. In Miami, there's lots of cargo planes, so different cargo transport companies and different, like Amazon and some other ones. And I always see them in the distance, and those airplanes are really neat. Now, if you know what airplanes those are, please let me know in the comments. But they're really huge, and sometimes some of those noses, the nose opens up. So I always like to see those huge airplanes off in the distance to see all the stuff that they load in there. So those are like global cargo companies that travel all over the world. I thought about it at one time, joining or applying to a cargo company, because I met a flight attendant that used to fly for the cargo / charter companies, and she says sometimes they would spend 2 weeks in a country, like in Japan, and she says the hotels they would put them in were very neat, so you would have a lot of time to spend exploring the company. If you want to be a flight attendant, maybe you haven't thought about a charter or a cargo company, that might be another avenue that you can apply for and take if it's something that catches your interest. So for whatever reason, our flight to Puerto Plata in the Dominican Republic had extra security. There was another layer of screening, so passengers, not only when they scanned their boarding pass and they verified their travel documents like their passports, there was other security there that they had to pass through. I don't know why. Maybe the only thing I could think of is because Haiti is right next to the DR, and there's been a lot of unrest in Haiti, and a while back some people on the ground shot at some of our airplanes. The only thing I could think of is maybe that was why, but I don't know for sure, so don't quote me on that. But we had extra security on that flight for the passengers boarding, and that doesn't happen often. So anytime you see that, it makes you, Yeah, for the trip to Puerto Plata in the DR, I did have to set up a cart to do service because that flight was longer and it required that we do a beverage and accompaniment service. The way I set up my carts for the beverage service is, for example, this is the little trolley. What I do is I crush my ice, and so the top drawer on each side has the crushed ice and the ice scoops. Second drawer, and I'll plug in a picture right here. The second drawer, I like to put my Biscoff on this little tray because I can be very efficient. Like I can compact them, put them all in there, and it doesn't take up much room. And I like to do that because I like to put 2 soda inserts on each side instead of 1. And that's because sometimes you run out of flavors. For example, in each soda insert, there's only 1 Dr. Pepper and there's only 1 Diet Dr. Pepper. There's only like 3 Sprites and 1 Sprite Zero. And sometimes some flights, people are Sprite drinkers or Dr. Pepper drinkers, and we run out. So if I run out of a certain flavor, I like to have a backup. And then when I'm out of those, I'm out of those. So ice, cookies, soda insert, and then on the bottom drawer on one side, we have the beer, the little tub with the ice, and there's beer. And there is Trulies, and there's white wine. And then on this side, we have like the liquor minis. So if someone wants like a gin and tonic or a Jack and Coke, we get it from here. And so we go out with our little trolley and we do service, and we offer everyone an accompaniment and a beverage of choice. We had a maintenance delay leaving Miami, from Miami to Puerto Plata. And I don't know what the maintenance delay was. I was in the back. I just got a phone call from the number 1 informing me of that. And the maintenance delay was good because they were also waiting for 15 passengers that were coming in on another flight. So that was to allow those other passengers. Well, the maintenance delay wasn't to allow. The maintenance delay happened to coincide with giving those passengers a little extra time to show up. I think 3 more trickled in, 3 or 4 more, but we had about 10 seats open. So it wasn't completely full. This was an international flight, and so when you're coming back to the United States on an international flight, it's an FAA rule that you are required to use your restroom in your cabin of service. So if you're sitting in first class, you would use a first class bathroom. If you're sitting in main cabin, you would use one of the main cabin bathrooms, unless you had a special need for needing to use one of the others. So you would just let the flight attendant know. So I did want to say that, and you do not congregate by the bathrooms. And it is not because we're being mean that we ask you not to congregate that around there. The captain also makes the same PA. It's for your safety and our safety. Do not congregate by the bathrooms. There's always a light, red or green, whether the bathroom is occupied or not occupied. I've been in some bad turbulence. I'll post a picture right here. This turbulence happened out of nowhere. So you could get hurt, we could get hurt, you could fall on us, or we could fall on you. Something like that could happen. So it's for everyone's safety not to congregate near the bathrooms. Also, when we were leaving Puerto Plata to come back to the U.S., a woman had a wheelchair, a battery-operated wheelchair that she was putting down in cargo, but they couldn't figure out how to take off the lithium battery. Now the lithium batteries cannot go underneath, because if there is a fire or that battery heats up or something like that, that would be bad news to have a fire down there because there's no one to fight the fire. We have firefighting equipment in the main cabin where passengers sit in there. So if you have a wheelchair with a lithium battery, or that's why you're asked, do you have any lithium batteries in your checked baggage? You have to bring it in the cabin. We have fire safety bags for lithium fires. We have ways of putting it out or containing it until we get down to the ground. So that's very important. Maybe people don't know why
they asked. But there's a little bit of a delay because they couldn't figure out how to remove it. Finally, the passenger helped them and they got it off. It was raining when we arrived in Puerto Plata, and it was like cloudy, really cloudy, and so it was kind of bumpy. It was a bumpy ride there. Our flight time was 1 hour and 48 minutes from Puerto Plata back to Miami. We used the same airplane coming back from Puerto Plata to Miami. So what happens is after all the passengers get off, we have security come through and they do a whole sweep because it's an international flight. They lift up cushions, they check the luggage bins, they check the trash bins, they check the carts, they check everywhere to ensure that there's nothing on there that shouldn't be on there. And then the cleaners come through and they'll do a quick clean and they'll adjust all of the emergency cards and the seat backs, and they'll adjust all of the seat belts. And then once that's ready to go, then we load the passengers back up. Then I set up carts again with the downline catering. So downline just means for the next trip after you. So if you're ever working a flight, you have to make sure that you're not touching the downline because the downline is for the next flight. So I opened up my downline, set up my carts again, and for the service back to Miami. And then that was it. Made it back to Miami, caught my commuter flight. There was a seat for me. I was so happy. I got to nod off. And then I got back home. I felt like terrible, so I stopped and bought a couple cans of soup, and I had soup for dinner, and I put on pajamas and I went straight to bed. And these last 2 days I've been on the mend. I feel a lot better because tomorrow I work again. I have 2 3-day back-to-back trips, and then I'm off for like 10 or 11 days because they automatically gave me vacation time in January since I didn't specify when I wanted it, which is fine. So I'll have some days off. I may pick up a trip. I would like to try and pick up a London. Maybe someone doesn't want to, or an IPD. Maybe someone doesn't want to fly an international trip. I think I'll try to pick one up. But that's it. That's it for my debrief for this day of flying. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And to see future videos about my life as a flight attendant or something like that, if you have not yet subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. Until next time, bye guys.